So if you've ever placed a bet on DraftKings or FanDuel, you probably understand the basics of how prediction markets work. Same sports, same outcomes, but the way these platforms actually operate under the hood is completely different. And once you understand those differences, you might never look at a sports book the same way again. So here's the fundamental difference. At a sports book, you're always betting against the house. DraftKings, they set the line, you take it or leave it. They're on the other side of your bet every single time. Prediction markets, they flip that entirely. You're trading contracts with other users. There's no house, there's no bookmakers. Think of it like the stock market. Nobody at the New York Stock Exchange is on the other side when you buy Apple stock. You're just buying it from someone who wants to sell, and you're selling to someone who wants to buy. And that one difference, no house, peer-to-peer transactions, is what drives almost everything else that sets these two platforms apart. So let's say the Celtics are playing tonight in the NBA. You go over to Kalshi, you'll see a "Will the Celtics win?" contract sitting at 60 cents. Maybe you like that bet. So let's say you buy 100 contracts at 60 cents each. That's a $60 investment. If the Celtics win, each contract pays out exactly $1. You clear $40 in profit on your initial $60 investment for a 67% rate of return. If the Celtics lose, the contracts simply go to zero and you're out the $60. Now let's compare that to how it works at a sportsbook. That same Celtics game might be listed at, say, minus 145 on the money line, meaning you'd have to bet $145 to win $100. The implied probability is roughly the same, around 59, 60% at that price, but the sportsbook is charging you extra for the privilege of placing that bet with them. That difference is known as the VIG. In other words, the cut that the house takes. And it typically runs about 4.5% to 5% on every single wager. At a prediction market, the fee structure is transparent. It's usually much smaller, often under 2% of your profit. Over hundreds of bets, that gap adds up fast. Here are a couple other things worth knowing. Prices move in real time at prediction markets. Just like a stock, contract prices on a prediction market shift constantly as new information comes in. If a starting pitcher gets scratched an hour before first pitch, the price moves immediately because thousands of traders are reacting to the same news. At a sportsbook, if you made that bet earlier in the afternoon, you're locked in at whatever price you got, regardless of the change in starting pitcher. At a prediction market, you can sell your position even if the situation changes. Access to prediction markets, this might be the big one, especially depending on where you live. If you're in a state where sports betting isn't legal, sportsbooks tend to be regulated state to state, which is why they're still blocked in places like California and Texas and some other major states. Prediction markets operate under federal oversight, specifically the CFTC, which means they're available to most Americans right now, including in those states where sports betting isn't legal. One more thing to note with prediction markets, sportsbooks, they obviously stick to sports. Prediction markets, they go well beyond the sports universe. You can trade on political elections, economic data, weather, award shows, pretty much anything you can dream up. You could find it at a prediction market. For sports fans, that might mostly be background noise, but it does mean the platform is always active, not just on game days. Because prediction markets are peer-to-peer, you always need someone on the other side of your trade. Now, for major events like the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, big UFC cards, liquidity is high. You'll always get filled fast. But for niche games or obscure props, you might not find a match at the price you want. Sportsbooks, they'll pretty much always take your bet. Prediction markets can't always promise that. And here's another thing. If you want the full menu, spreads, same game parlays, player props, defensive props in the NBA, traditional sportsbooks, they're always going to have more depth. Prediction markets are growing fast, but the overall menu isn't quite as wide. So here's what you need to know overall. If you're an analytical sports fan who's comfortable thinking in probabilities, or if you live in a state where you can't use a traditional sportsbook, prediction markets are absolutely worth exploring. The biggest platforms right now are Kalshi and Polymarket. Those are the ones you've probably heard of, but new prediction markets seem to be popping up every month. Look around, see what works best for you. Try it out. You might like it better than the traditional sportsbook experience.